For centuries, there's been this one really chilling question. Who is the Antichrist, and where is he going to come from? Now, most people just assume the Bible is pretty vague about it, maybe pointing somewhere in modern Europe. But what if the answer has been hiding in plain sight this whole time?
Okay, let's just dive right into this. The whole idea of a revived Roman Empire based in Europe, it's a powerful one, for sure. But it might be suffering from what some prophecy scholars call a kind of myopia, a blind spot. What if the real key isn't in the West at all, but deep in the East?
And this is the term we're going to be digging into. Long before the New Testament ever used the word Antichrist, the Old Testament prophets, guys like Isaiah and Micah, they identified Israel's final enemy with a really specific regional title, the Assyrian. And believe me, this is not just some random name. It is a massive geographic and historical clue.
But hey, before we start tracing his origins, let's just get a really clear picture of who this figure even is, based on what the Bible actually says.
You know, the term Antichrist literally means against Christ, or you could even say in place of Christ. Scripture doesn't present him as some vague idea, but as a very real future world leader. A guy who will rise to global power, directly oppose God, and ultimately demand that people worship him. He is the final, ultimate expression of rebellion. When you look across all the different passages, this consistent profile just starts to emerge. He's a political figure called the Prince that shall come. He's a military leader who will literally make war against the saints. He's a master of deception. The Apostle Paul even calls him the man of lawlessness. And one of his absolute defining traits? His mouth. He's a blasphemer who speaks incredible things against God. So with that profile in mind, where do we even start looking for his origin? Well, most prophecy students point straight to Rome. But this is exactly where that myopia, that blind spot we mentioned, really comes into play. This is the key verse right here. It says the people of the prince that shall come are the ones who will destroy Jerusalem. And history is crystal clear. That was the Roman legions in 70 AD. So that directly links this future ruler, the Antichrist, to the Roman Empire. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. And here we have a crucial but so often forgotten piece of history. The Roman Empire wasn't just a European thing. It had two distinct legs, a Western leg centered in Rome and a really powerful Eastern leg centered in the Near East. And, this is critical, that Eastern leg included the exact same territory as the ancient Assyrian Empire. As the Bible teacher Chuck Messler pointed out, the connection to Rome is absolutely correct, but our focus might be on the completely wrong leg of that empire. He argued that, yes, this leader comes from the historical Roman Empire, just not the European part we always assume. This Eastern connection, it becomes even clearer when you look at the Old Testament prophecies. I mean, if the Antichrist origin is in the East, we should expect to find clues there, right? And we do, a lot of them. Right here in Isaiah chapter 10, the prophet is talking about a future time of judgment, a period he calls the indignation. And who's the main bad guy in this end-time scenario? He's not just described, he is explicitly called the Assyrian. And again, in Isaiah 14, God promises to destroy the Assyrian in the land of Israel. But notice the scope here. This isn't just some local conflict. This is a purpose for the whole earth. That elevates this Assyrian from just a historical enemy to a figure of global prophetic importance. The prophet Micah gives us another incredibly powerful link. In the exact same chapter where he predicts the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem, he also talks about a final deliverance from the Assyrian. This plants the figure squarely in the context of the last days. So when you put these passages together, the Assyrian isn't just any old enemy. He's a proud, blasphemous military invader who plays a central role in Israel's final crisis. He's an oppressor that God himself promises to judge and destroy on the mountains of Israel. Sound familiar? But this pattern, this rebellious ruler from that specific part of the world, it didn't just start with the prophets. To really understand the final version of this rebellion, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. Let's rewind to Genesis. We meet this character, Nimrod, whose name literally means "we will rebel." He's presented as the very first world dictator. He was the founder of Babel, which of course became Babylon, and also Nineveh, the capital of, you guessed it, Assyria. He established the very first human-led attempt at a global, godless kingdom. The parallels here are they're striking. Nimrod was the prototype. The Antichrist is the final expression. You have the first world dictator and the final one, both of them operating out of the exact same geographic region, the land of Shinar, both trying to unify humanity in defiance of God. Nimrod built a tower. The Antichrist will demand to be worshipped in a temple. It's the same spirit, the same agenda, just thousands of years apart.
So, if this figure has such a long history and a specific origin, what's the one event that actually puts him on the world stage and starts the prophetic clock ticking? Yeah, it's not his first big speech. It's not his military victories or how popular he gets. According to the book of Daniel, his official end times role is triggered by a very specific, very public political act. And here it is. He will confirm or make a firm covenant with the nation of Israel for 7 years. This treaty, which will probably be some kind of peace and security agreement, is the starting gun. It's the one act that officially kicks off that final 7-year period known as Daniel's 70th week. The moment that treaty is confirmed, everything changes. The final 7 years of this age begin, the period we know as the tribulation kicks off, and what the prophet Jeremiah called the time of Jacob's trouble is officially underway. So to kind of sum it all up, what we're seeing is not just a random collection of prophecies. It's a consistent, developing picture. It's a pattern of rebellion that started way back with Nimrod and Babel, was given the very specific title, the Assyrian, by the prophets, and it all points to a final world ruler coming not from modern Europe, but from the ancient Near East, from the eastern leg of the Roman Empire. And that leaves us with one last question to think about. If the biblical blueprint points so consistently to the east, to the lands of ancient Assyria and Babylon, does that change how we should be looking at the geopolitical landscape and the prophetic events unfolding in the world today? That's something worth thinking about.